Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 horror movies on Disney Plus that I highly recommend. And with that, let's get to the list.
Ray Bradbury's fantasy tale of light and darkness is getting closer. Something wicked this way comes.
Something Wicked This Way Comes is a 1983 dark fantasy horror movie, directed by Jack Clayton and written by Ray Bradbury. It stars Jason Robards, Jonathan Pryce, and Pam Grier. In a small town, a diabolical circus and its demonic proprietor prey on the townsfolk.
And the truth is that you are lying.
I'm pricking up my thumb. Something wicked this way comes.
It's so crazy to me because I have heard about this movie for many, many years now, but I had never seen it up until now. But a lot of that has to do with it wasn't available streaming anywhere, and it was one of those movies where Disney kind of pretended that it didn't exist because it just didn't fit their MO. It didn't fit their brand for the last, 30, 40 years. But now, because of Disney Plus basically being Hulu, it's like a combination of all the Disney stuff that we have known forever, and then also the Fox properties and all the horror and all those different things that they acquired when they bought out Fox. They were finally able to add this and make it easily available to stream. And so the other day I checked it out and it did not disappoint. Man, I love this movie. It is one of those that's going to definitely be in my rotation this time of year going forward because it has all those creepy, fun, atmospheric elements of the Halloween season. It has the fall leaves, the pumpkins. It also has that early 80s kind of coziness about it and definitely feels like a lot of other Disney movies. However, it's a lot darker and more creepy and sinister than any other Disney movie ever made, really. Maybe Black Hole is the other one that is kind of a horror movie to a certain extent. But this one, to me anyway, is the most horror. I mean, there are some really messed up elements and dark, demented, very disturbing and uncomfortable things that go on in this. Now, it's not gory or anything like that, but the ideas presented, the different things that it basically implies and things along those lines are what really make it so dark. I also really love the cast in this, especially Jonathan Pryce. He plays a fantastic villain in this. He's so ominous and creepy while also being charismatic and fun to watch. But if for whatever reason you're like me and have yet to see this one, or if it's been a while, I'm telling you, this is a great pick for the spooky time of year. Deliver Us is a 2023 horror movie. Directed by Leroy Coons and Crew Ennis, it stars Maria Verarati, Leroy Coons, and Alexander Siddig. When a nun in a remote convent claims Immaculate Conception, the Vatican sends a team of priests to investigate.
I think we were chosen. Like Mary and Joseph.
Okay, so before you skip to the next movie, hear me out. This is not what you're gonna expect. I'm telling you, this is not like it sounds at all, at least from that synopsis. Because yes, that is the basis of the story here. But the directions that it takes, how wild and over the top and surprising it goes with the different elements and wrinkles to that basic premise is what makes this so entertaining. Because the setup of it feels like, okay, I've seen this before with Immaculate a few years ago or The First Omen or lots of other religious horror movies. But then it takes a turn and it becomes this weird espionage, adventure, crime, like weird movie that also gets really supernatural and dark and twisted and pretty uncomfortable. I mean, there are some things in this that definitely will make you uncomfortable. Some of the imagery alone is worth seeing this movie. It'll stick in your head and not quickly be forgotten. So if you're a fan of religious horror or horror in general that do things a little bit differently, this is one you definitely need to add to your list.
Don't be scared. It's worse if you're afraid.
It Feeds is a 2025 supernatural horror movie, written and directed by Chad Archibald. It stars Ashley Greene, Ellie O'Brien, and Shawn Ashmore. After a young girl bursts into their home psychiatry practice, claiming that an entity is feeding on her, a young woman and her clairvoyant mother must find a way to stop the force before the girl is taken completely.
There is something attached to that girl. Something terrible. But we don't know these people. We can't trust them.
Mom, I'm seeing it.
Here's another one that, from the synopsis, sounds a lot like a lot of other movies you've seen. And I'm not saying it's the most original movie ever made or anything like that, but it's also not exactly what you're going to expect. And it does do some unique things, takes some twists and turns that I did not see coming. There's a lot of unique wrinkles and ideas that this movie does. Now, that's not to say this is a game changer or anything that's going to blow your mind, but it's very entertaining. And especially if you enjoy moody, atmospheric, creepy horror that works really well this time of year, this is a very fun movie. So as long as you go into this with your expectations in check, just looking to be entertained, this one's a great pick.
So delicious.
Appendage is a 2023 body horror movie, written and directed by Anna Zlakovic. It stars Emily Hampshire, Hadley Robinson, and Kausar Mohammed. A young fashion designer's life spirals as her darkest inner thoughts manifest into something gruesome that won't stop growing.
Like, have you ever seen anything like this before?
No.
So there is a lot of twisted humor to this. It is a movie that doesn't take itself too serious, while at the same time, it's dramatic. There's a lot to say here. They're really addressing and dealing with some issues that a lot of people, including myself, deal with, especially when it comes to the pressures of career and what you think you should be accomplishing and your goals and things like that, and how hard you can be on yourself. You can definitely be your own worst enemy when it comes to the pressures that you put on yourself. And so this movie really hit home for me because that's something I deal with all the time, where I expect things from myself that just are out of my control and or are just not really feasible. Like they're not realistic. And so I can be really hard on myself and push myself way more than I really should. And so there's a big focus on that in this movie, while also being gross and really uncomfortable. The body horror is fantastic in this. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of a Frank Henenlotter movie where the body horror and practical effects and all that is very gross, but there is also a humor behind all that because it's not taking itself so serious that there isn't an element of fun to it. It also has some really fun twists and directions that it takes. And just in general, it's a very entertaining, good time kind of movie. But if that sounds like something that you would enjoy, definitely check this one out.
As I've always believed, there's nothing that can't be explained.
Oddity is a 2024 supernatural horror movie, written and directed by Damian McCarthy. It stars Carolyn Bracken, Gwilym Lee, and Tanged Murphy. It's about a blind medium who tries to uncover the truth behind her sister's death with the help of her psychic abilities.
The thought of another patient showing up at the front door here.
Would you allow them in?
Of course not.
My sister would never allow a strange man into her home in the middle of the night.
This one really came out of nowhere last year. One of the biggest surprises of the year because it's a very small movie. This is not, a big budget production kind of film by any means. But I honestly shouldn't have been surprised because I really enjoyed his first movie. It's another movie called Caveat, which is available, I think, on Tubi, maybe Shudder, but it's really, really good as well. He just has such a unique way of making movies because they're always kind of a simple story, but the look, the style, the props, the directions that it takes, he just has a very unique way about making movies. On top of that, Caveat as well as this movie are just so creepy. The mood, the lighting, the pacing, he sets up scares so well that they actually get me, which is rare. I'm not saying that it's the scariest movie ever made or anything like that, but he is so good at jump scares and building the pressure in his movies where you really are on the edge of your seat. He just does such an incredible job of building the tension. Besides that, I love some of the props and practical effects that he does in this. The big wooden man, especially in this, it's just such a cool looking thing that by itself makes this movie worth seeing. And if anything, the only thing I would have liked to have seen more is more of all those little objects and things that are in the curio shop in this. Every one of them are creepy and unnerving. Either way, I'm really excited to see whatever Damian McCarthy does next because I think he's a very talented filmmaker. And if you've yet to see Oddity and want something that is definitely creepy, honestly, you should make it a double feature. Check out this one as well as Caveat because they would make an incredible double feature. But either way, do yourself a favor and check this out.
You underestimate me.
Mom!
No need to be afraid.
Little Bites is a 2024 horror movie, written and directed by Spider-One. It stars Kirsty Fox, John Skarloff, and Elizabeth Caro. In a desperate attempt to protect her 10-year-old daughter, a young widow allows a nightmarish monster to slowly eat her alive.
Mom, what's wrong with you? It turns out monsters are real.
What a creepy, just super uncomfortable movie this is. It's a very small kind of film, limited resources, small budget, all of those things. So you have to be in the right headspace for that. Don't go into this expecting anything too crazy. But working with what they do have, the acting is on point, the design of the location, but more importantly, the way they build the tension, the way you slowly see this creature and what it is capable of and what it does makes this movie really special. I think because it is such a small movie, it's really flying under the radar. You don't hear anyone talking about it. And I think it's a real shame because this movie is so disturbing. Like, it's one of those movies that gets under your skin and makes you feel so uneasy. There's this dirty, grimy quality about it where you just feel slimy and like you need to take a shower. But if you're a fan of small, slow burn indie horror, this is one you definitely need to see. The Village is a 2004 psychological thriller, produced, written, and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It stars Bryce Dallas Howard, Joaquin Phoenix, and Adrian Brody. A series of events test the beliefs of a small countryside village.
We have always had, since the day we settled here, a gentle understanding with the creatures who live beyond our borders.
I think it's a real shame how much of a bad rap this movie has gotten over the years. Because I feel like it's one that very few people have ever really gone back to and watched again with like a fresh perspective. Because coming off of the hits back to back that M. Night had done at the time, I mean, he was riding on this high that was really impossible to keep up. And so this movie just came crashing down miserably. It wasn't what people were expecting, and it wasn't what people were wanting it to be. And that's the problem. Like a lot of movies people go into with expectations, you go into it thinking you want it to be a certain movie, and yet you didn't make the movie. And if it doesn't do exactly what you were anticipating or what you thought it would based on the trailer or hype or whatever, you're going to end up not liking it. And I mean, that's not to blame anyone, because I was let down by this just like everybody else. However, when you rewatch this with fresh perspective 20 years later, I'm telling you, this movie is so much better than a lot of people think it is. For one, the cast is just incredible in this. The look, the style, the atmosphere, the way the story unfolds, it's super creepy and unnerving. And if you watch this as not a horror movie with monsters and things like that, but instead a psychological thriller, and go into this with the right expectations, I'm telling you, more than likely, you're going to be really surprised at how much you actually end up liking this. Because as hit and miss as M. Night has been over the last number of years, I mean, there's been definitely a couple, especially his last two, that I wasn't a fan of at all. He's also done a few that I have really liked. He's just one of those filmmakers that goes for it. He really takes big swings, and so all his movies don't always land, but there are always a unique flavor to them, a unique way of making movies and telling stories that he does not like really anybody else. Either way, if you've never seen this because you've heard it isn't great, or if it's just been a while since you've seen it, I'm telling you, this is one you definitely should give a chance. New Life is a 2023 horror movie, written and directed by John Rossman. It stars Sonya Walger, Haley Aaron, and Tony Amendola. A mysterious woman on the run and the resourceful fixer assigned to bring her in have their two stories inextricably linked as the stakes of their pursuit rise to apocalyptic proportions.
Your job is to bring in Jessica Murdoch alive, or if necessary, dead.
This is a difficult one to talk about because you really can't say much about it, because there's a lot of things about it that if you were to know, it would have a lot less of an impact and the story itself would be a lot less interesting. But at the same time, it starts off kind of slow. You have to be patient with it as it builds and as it sets things up. But there's a reasoning behind that, and it is worth being patient for, because the directions that it takes and the intensity and wild nature that it ultimately ends up at is very, very cool. On top of that, the practical effects, the gore effects, the makeup work, all of that, the gore effects, so to speak, that this movie does are really, really worth seeing as well. On top of that, it's just a really interesting story that'll keep you on the edge of your seat and guessing the entire runtime. So if you're in the mood for an intense thrill ride, a real pressure cooker, this is one definitely worth seeing.
You knock him dead.
Late Night with the Devil is a 2023 supernatural horror movie, written, directed, and edited by Colin and Cameron Carnes. It stars David Desmalchin, Laura Gordon, and Ian Bliss. A live television broadcast in 1977 goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms.
Now, as you know, here on Night Owls, we think it's very important to keep an open mind. Please welcome Dr. June Ross Mitchell and Lily, the young subject of the book, Conversations with the Devil.
I adore this movie, and I know most of you have already seen this, but the reason I wanted to mention it this week is because I think it is such a great Halloween movie. It's one that is definitely going to be in my rotation from here on out, because just everything about it, the mood, the vibe, the look, the style of everything, the special effects, the weird supernatural things that happen, it all just feels cozy in this creepy, demonic, weird horror way, in a way that really only horror fans can appreciate and understand. It's the kind of movie that doesn't need to scare you, but if it gives you the feels, if it helps you get into that Halloween mood, then it serves its purpose, and that's the kind of movie this is. It's the kind that even if you've seen it, it doesn't even matter, because it's great to have on in the background at a party, or just one to watch this time of year because it does that so well. Beyond that, David Desmalchin is fantastic in this. He needs more leading roles. I'm telling you, he's in a ton of movies, but just always these little roles. And so to see him in this have the leading role and just absolutely knock it out of the park is another reason I think this movie's fantastic. So if you're one of those out there that have yet to see this, or if you've already seen this but you're looking for something to get you into the Halloween mood, this is a great pick.
Please don't do it. Can I stab her anywhere?
Would You Rather is a 2012 psychological horror movie. Directed by David Guy Levy, it stars Brittany Snow, Jeffrey Combs, and Sasha Grey. Desperate to help her ailing brother, a young woman unknowingly agrees to compete in a deadly game of Would You Rather, hosted by a sadistic aristocrat.
Each player will be given a choice between A or B. What the hell is this? Decision-making in its rawest form.
This movie, I think, really deserves more attention than it gets. It's one that I don't think is talked about enough and not appreciated enough, which really baffles me because it's so weird, unnerving, creepy, gross, sick, twisted, all of those things that make for a really entertaining, enjoyable horror movie. There's so many scenes in it that just make your skin crawl, that'll make you wince, that'll make you kind of look through your fingers at the screen. Besides that, Brittany Snow is fantastic in this, and she's getting bigger and bigger roles now, which is fantastic, but when this was made, she was still kind of relatively unknown, but she absolutely kills it in this role. But the performance from Jeffrey Combs is so entertaining to see. He is always so amazing in movies, but he especially is fantastic as a villain. He just plays that greasy, grimy, disturbing, mean, sadistic character. He just plays that so well. And in this movie, you just want to see him die, but at the same time, you love watching him on screen because he is charismatic and entertaining and interesting and funny while being despicable. Either way, I just think this movie's a great time and absolutely a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy or candy corn and enjoy. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button and remember, guys, horror can be fun, and I'll see you all next time.